Okay, hi everyone. This video is literally just going to be explaining, like, all of the technical car jargon that gets thrown around in a bunch of videos, but basically distilling it for normal people, because I feel like whenever I've watched car videos, because I really enjoy electric vehicles, they'll, like, throw around a bunch of words, or, like, they'll put up a slide of, like, the different specs of the car, and I kind of just always skip past that part because I don't understand what any of it means, but I decided, like, that it's taking away from my actual understanding of the vehicle, and so I decided, you know what, like, if I'm confused about this as a normal person who just enjoys cars for the aesthetic, then, like, might as well try and talk to other people, or, like, try and explain to other people, because I feel like that's the best way for you to learn. So I've written down, like, a couple of concepts that I think would be useful, like, if someone just clicked on a YouTube video and they learned about these things, then, like, all future car videos that they watch, they'll have a better understanding. Even if these are, like, heavily oversimplified, at least it's helpful. So the first one is horsepower. And when I was initially trying to understand what horsepower was, at the end of my understanding, I realized that the word horsepower in itself is actually pretty useful. So the technical definition that I've written down, technical, is how quickly a car can use its energy to make it move. So I'll repeat that again. How quickly a car can use its energy to make it move. So essentially, I like to think of horsepower, or horsepower is relative to time. It's like how quickly can a car accelerate, or like how quickly can a car, accomplish a task. Or I think this might be better explained with an analogy. So let's say you have, like, person A, and they can lift 10 boxes in 2 minutes. But then you have person B who can lift 10 boxes in 1 minute. So person B has greater horsepower than person A because person B is able to accomplish more things. They can do more work than person A. So person B has greater horsepower. You can kind of think of it in terms of, like, different horses, like which horse has the most power. So yeah. And then also horsepower is related to torque, which is also another concept which I think is kind of thrown around a lot. I really hope the audio in this thing isn't bad because I'm putting it, like, right by the AC. But torque in itself is a twisting force. And you might be thinking, okay, where in a car are things like twisting? But it's like, essentially, there's this part of the car, or like the engine, there's like a bunch of twisting forces going around with whatever cogwheels are happening. And essentially, that twisting force generates a turning force in the wheels. So you can think about it, right? Like, if a car has a high torque, and you're able to turn the wheels with a lot of force, then you'll have greater horsepower because that initial acceleration will be really strong, is how I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be interpreted. Next concept is 0 to 60 in X amount of seconds. This, as a viewer, I think is probably the easiest concept because it's pretty self-explanatory. Like, a car can go from 0 to 60 miles per hour in X amount of seconds. And the only thing that I was confused about with this concept was, okay, what is actually a good 0 to 60? And so sub 3 seconds is, like, very impressive, like sports car level. 3 to 5 seconds is, like, very fast, or decently fast. 5 to 7 seconds is average, and then 7 to 9 is, like, moderately slow, but still, like, fine. Because, like, not everyone drives a sports car. Next thing was drivetrain. And I know there's probably a technical definition for drivetrain, but I think drivetrain is most apparent in, like, its 3 different, I guess, categories. So you have, like, forward wheel drive, rear wheel drive, and all-wheel drive. And essentially, it's just telling you which wheels are either pushing the car, which is applicable to rear wheel drive, so think of a shopping cart, or pulling the car forward, so you can think that is, like, forward wheel drive, so that's like a wagon, you're pulling a wagon. And then all-wheel drive, I was thinking, why don't we just, if a car has 4 wheels, why are we only using the front two or the back two to move the car? And apparently it's because, well, there is all-wheel drive, and it is more grippy on the roads, which I guess would be helpful if you lived in, like, a really cold area where you would need to have really good grip. But it's less efficient because now you have to, instead of just powering two components, two tires, now you have to power four. So it's less energy efficient. Okay, the next thing, and these are more getting into, like, the electric vehicle realm. I feel like the top ones were more general. But, so we have kilowatt hours. Not kilowatts per hour, just kilowatt hours. And this literally just tells you how much electricity is capable of being stored. So, like, battery storage. It's very simple. And with kilowatt hours, there's kilowatts, which just tells you how fast electricity is flowing. So, like, this is important to know depending on, like, how fast your car charges. You can even think about it in terms of a phone. Like, how quickly does your phone charge? You can also think about it as how quickly is energy expended. So it's like, it's just a rate, it's a measure to see how fast electricity is flowing. Next thing is range, which my definition is the number of miles you can travel on a single charge. So that as a concept, similar to 0 to 60, was very simple to me, but I also needed to understand, like, a range for the range to see, like, what is actually considered, like, good range. So if you have sub 250 miles on a single charge, that's just, like, very limited and probably not best in the market. If you have a 250 to 300 mile range on a single charge, that's, like, pretty solid. 300 to 400 is, like, pretty good. Like, that's what's expected, I think. And then 400 plus is great. But I think if you're getting 400 miles on a single charge, like, your car is probably sacrificing other things for that feature. And then the last concept is regenerative braking, which is very specific to electric vehicles, and I actually think it's super cool because I'd always heard regenerative braking, but I'd never actually, like, thought to understand what it meant. So essentially, you are able to recharge your electric vehicle while you're driving, mind you, while you're braking. So essentially, when a car brakes, it is essentially just squeezing the tires, and it is increasing the friction that is occurring. So there's a lot of energy that is lost to heat. And so what is done instead is they're trying to gather the energy that is lost. So, like, the actual, like, under the hood, how it works, apparently, I'm referencing notes on this, is, like, so, first of all, when you're driving, you have your motor and your engine, things are turning, whatever, and kind of similar to the torque I was talking about earlier, the engine is turning, and that generates a turning force at the wheels or something, so now the wheels are turning on their own, because of, like, probably momentum. So that's when you're going. But if you want to slow down, what regenerative braking does is that it's using the wheels that are already spinning, and it allows for the wheels that are already spinning to spin the motor instead. So the motor stops, or, like, whatever, it does something, it stops spinning on its own. It stops forcing itself to spin because it can rely on the wheels to spin so that it recharges the battery. So in my notes, because that was probably a terrible explanation, I say you can recharge your EV battery while you brake, because instead of the motor spinning and transferring energy to the wheels that are already spinning spin the motor instead so that it recharges the battery. Regenerative braking in a nutshell, I think. So yeah, that is car jargon for normal people, because most people probably don't understand half of these things when they want to buy an electric vehicle, and the market is exploding and will continue to explode. So I figured if someone wants a crash course without having to deal with 30 ChatGPT prompts, pretty decent 10-minute video. And I'm not an expert by any means. I probably should have said that at the beginning. If you want to contribute to my definitions in the comment section, you can. This probably won't get any views, but, like, it's fine. At least I'll be able to, like, monitor my progress as I learn about electric vehicles, which I think are pretty cool. Stay tuned for the next video.